precious country. As we mentioned in the first video, let's go to our second type of ecosystem, which is grassland ecosystem. So the definition is that it's the one which it has grasses and other herbaceous plants that dominate the vegetation with few or no trees present but receive more rain than desert, but less precipitation than forest. Secondly, let's look at the type of grassland ecosystem, the types which are, first of all, it's tropical grassland ecosystem, B, which is temperate grassland ecosystem, C, which is floodland grassland ecosystem, and the last type, which is tundra grassland ecosystem. Let's first of all look at the tropical grassland ecosystem. The tropical grassland ecosystem, first of all, let's start with this good example, which is savanna. Savanna is an excellent, at the same time, a marvelous, great example of grassland ecosystem. The climate of this savanna grassland ecosystem is known to be warm throughout the year. At the same time, it receives many of two seasons, which are rainy season and dry season. The precipitation is also known as the rain during this rainy season in the tropical grassland ecosystem ranges between 50 to 130 centimeters. The soil of tropical grassland is quite poor in terms of fertility due to lack of nutrients. The grassland in the fields of tropical grasslands are comparatively short, that provide perfect platform for grazing animals and hunting animals as well, which means source of food to the animals. And tropical grasslands are a home of various species of animals. Secondly, let's look at the second type, which is temperate grassland ecosystem. A good example of this is the North American prairies. It's an excellent example of this temperate grassland ecosystem. It receives an annual rainfall of up to 25 to 75 centimeters. Unlike the tropical grassland temperate ecosystem, which is quite rich in nutrient content in the soil, as I mentioned earlier on. The rich nutrient content improves the fertility of the soil, which makes the grassland perfect for farming. This is why more 50% of temperate prairies grasslands have been used for farming purposes. These farming lands fulfill the world's demands for food to large extent. The grasses in the temperate grassland are tall as compared to that of tropical grassland. The temperate grassland ecosystem also provides shelter and wide variety of wild animals. Let's go to the third type, which is C. Third type is flooded grassland ecosystem. Flooded grassland ecosystem is an ecosystem, as the name suggests, flooded grassland that have water throughout the year. That is why you can find a huge variety of plants that grow in water in this flooded grassland ecosystem. At the same time, let's go to this. One can find a huge variety of birds migrated from other regions, whereas some are residents for the flooded grassland ecosystem. The perfect example for this is Florida's Everglades, which is a perfect of flooded grassland ecosystem. The fourth type, which is the last type, is tundra guarded ecosystem. The tundra grassland ecosystem, which is known as the polar grassland, it is located in higher altitudes to the subarctic areas. This tundra grassland ecosystem experiences a very short growing season of these grasses. As far as the vegetation of the tundra grasses is concerned, it consists of high the same as huge grassland fields and shams in between. So let's look at the characteristics of this grassland ecosystem. The first type is limited annual rain. Secondly, dry climate throughout the year. Fourth type is lack of nutrients and the soil. Poor vegetation. Growth dominant for the grasses. So first of all, let's look at the first type, which is talking about the first point, which is talking about limited annual rainfall. When we're talking about limited annual rainfall, meaning that it has a limit or an extent whereby rainfall in this grassland ecosystem is limited. It is in portions. It's not done. It's not done periodically. So it's limited for this grass to be present in this ecosystem. The second point is dry climate throughout the year. By dry climate, it is prone to drought, and due to the uncertain precipitation or rain, different grasslands have a different measurements of annual, which is like the first point precipitation. A good example is that of savanna grassland, which experiences yearly rainfall up to 30 to 40 inches, whereas steppes in southeastern Europe, it ranges between 10 to 20 inches. So hence making it to be dry climate throughout the year. The third point is lack of nutrients in the soil. Due to this, as we mentioned, that the rainfall in grassland ecosystem is limited, hence it lacks nutrients on what to feed on where to get the nutrients. There, it's where there was less water in order for this ground to feed on. The third point is poor vegetation. Grassland dominated by the grasses. Poor vegetation is also a visual characteristic of grassland ecosystem. This ecosystem is named grassland because it has huge areas, I mentioned, of grass. But this consists of dry climate and less rainfall. It's the major reason for poor vegetation in this grassland ecosystem. The grasses in the ecosystem have adopted the climate for this region as compared to trees. As a result, you will find only grass fields in this grassland ecosystem. The common species of grass include the purple meadowgrass, foxtail, buffalo grass, wood oats, and etc. the others. That's the examples under this poor vegetation growth dominated by grasses, since its rainfall is limited. So let's look at the structure of grassland ecosystem. It has the biotic components, where it consists of the producer organisms in the grassland, where producers are many grasses. And at the same time, let's look at the consumers. In grassland, the consumers are of types also. And also let's look at their biotic components. These are biotic components. These include basic inorganic compounds present in the soil, the essential elements like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, phosphorus, etc. that are supplied by water. At the same time, let's look at the biotic factors. The producer has the organisms, these organisms which are many of herbs and shrubs, which contribute to the primary production. At the same time, let's look at the consumers. As we mentioned, they are of primary and that of secondary. Under primary, I'll mention a few which are herbivores feeding directly on grass. These grazing animals such as cows, buffaloes, sheep, goats, deer, and rabbits. Let's also look at the secondary consumers, which consist of frogs, snakes, lizards, birds, and the others. Apart from that, let's look at the functions of grassland ecosystem. The function of grassland ecosystem, the first step is transfer energy through the food chain when the production of nutrients is being done in this grassland area. The second point is to improve the soil fertility and keep the ecosystem productivity in check, making sure that the grass in this ecosystem is of good health and production, which has enough nutrients in which these grazing animals can feed on. The other point is that to prevent mineral leaching as a result of insufficient rainfall throughout the year. The other one is cycling of nutrients, which are biochemical cycles, which is done in this grassland ecosystem. So they are of different functions as I mentioned earlier. So let's look at the food chain. This is an important feature of the ecosystem, that one level of this organism serves as a food for another level of the organism. So this is the function of grassland ecosystem. A series in which it's formed is also known as what? The food chain, which is done in the grassland. Apart from that, let's look at this nutrient cycle, also known as the biochemical cycles. For many ecosystems to be successful, it is important they constituent materials that move in a cyclic manner. The producers which a green plant takes up the mineral element from the soil and air. Also that's the end of the grassland ecosystem. Thank you for watching.